like a bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here, I got time, it's clear to see.
Well, how's everyone doing today? I figured seeing I got all this time on my hands, seeing we're only working a 3-day week now, figured I'd share with you a little bit about myself. Tell you where I came from, what I've been doing all these years, and why I do the things I do. So maybe that'll shed a little light on some of the stuff I do for my videos. So I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin, about 30 miles north of Milwaukee. And when I was 12 years old, I started working on my great uncle's farm. So as far as I'm concerned, farming is one of the hardest jobs I've ever done to this day. It is heavy work, it's hard work, it's long hours. I would not personally pick farming as a occupation. But most of my family, my cousins, uncles, they were all farmers. So it was the easy choice when you're 12 years old is to go make some money working on the farm. But I did that until I was about 16. Went to work at a grocery store. When I was 17, I went to work at one of the local factories as a production welder. So then my first job as an adult, I was a machinist for Tecumseh Products. We made castings for the small engines. So that was short-lived. That was 1979, 1980. And that was very short-lived. I was laid off in early 1980, I believe it was. And my second job as an adult was working in a steel mill, a local steel mill. Again, that probably was the second hardest job I ever had, working in the steel mill. Very hot, very dirty, get burned a lot. It wasn't a good job, but it got me to a different point. It got me into maintenance, and in maintenance I learned machining, I learned welding, I did hydraulics. I mean, I went to school, I went to MSOE for a while, I went to Moraine Park Technical. I have a 2-year degree from Moraine Park Technical, and so it was kind of like the springboard for me to go further with my career. So I worked there for 14 years, and around 1994 I left there to start a apprenticeship as a journeyman mold maker, which is what I am considered today. I have a card, journeyman card for mold making. So I did that for about 8 years at a company that made molds. We did stuff for Mercury Marine and Harley Davidson and all kinds of companies that we made molds for. But after 9/11, I again got laid off, and so after that, because I knew how to run the CNC machines and I knew how to program them, I was able to find work as a CNC machinist programmer, you know. So that's what I've been doing ever since. Now I've been at a lot of different companies since 9/11, and the work dries up, you get laid off, you go to a different company, they seem to be busy, and it just continues. And here we are again. I've been at the company I've been at now for 4 years, and we're dried up, and it's by no fault of theirs, it's just the way the world is right now. So I have a lot of time on my hands, so we're gonna spend a little time with you today. I thought I would take you out to where I hunt down here, where I live in Wisconsin. So down here I hunt in state land, and it's only, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles from my house, so it's convenient to just drive out there and sit on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. Just go out there and sit for a few hours. And I don't see a lot of deer there. I don't see deer on the state land like I do up north on my food plots. But, you know, I have shot a few deer in my spot here. I shot an 8-pointer and I shot a 10-pointer over the years. Both pretty nice deer. So they're there. You just gotta put your time in, and you know, sooner or later one will come walking up on you, you know. But so the first thing we have to do is we have to go and get a sticker for the car. You can't park in the state parks without a sticker. So it's an annual sticker. They go from January to January. So the first thing I have to do is I have to go get a sticker. So that'll be our first stop today. Is we're gonna go get a sticker. All right, we're here at the pay station. I go to one of the trailheads. It's a cross-country ski trail, hiking trail. There's a parking lot here, and they have the little envelopes.
Meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me, meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
There's one other car here. Well, I can't buy a sticker because everything is closed.
I'm just sitting here. I got time.
So it says the parks and trails are open, entrance fees are waived, buildings are closed, some restrooms are open. Pretty much everything else is closed.
It's so beautiful. You and me,
No tickets.
we meant to be.
Well, that means we can go for our walk, and I don't have to worry about getting a ticket on my car. So I'll have to go online. You can go online and buy the passes too. I'm sure at some point they're gonna switch that back. The state's gonna want their money at some point this summer. All right, we're coming up on our parking spot here.
Take a step back to see the truth.
A little bit of an overcast day. The
Distance you can
forecast is for rain, but I think that's coming later on today, so I think we should be okay. So typically, when you're in the kettle moraine, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see these ridges like this here, deep kettles. I don't know if you could pick that up on a camera, but that goes down pretty far. Now, these were all formed back in the day of the Ice Age, and
meant to be.
you know, the gun hunters like these ridges. They like to sit up there on the ridges, and then they can see for a long ways during gun season. But for bow hunting, I like to find a more a spot more on the edges of some of the thicker areas. So that's where I'm going to take you to. We're going to hike down this trail. The trail that we're on, this here is considered a bridle trail. You can hike on it, but it's for horses. It's also used as snowmobile trail in the winter months. but for the summer, it's pretty much considered a bridle trail. And you'll any day, a good day on a Saturday or Sunday, you'll have 10 horse trailers down here in the parking lot, and they'll all be out here walking on these trails. All right, so let's continue. We got to go about a half mile back in. So if you ever hear me tell a story about the 10-pointer I shot that I tracked for a half mile and found him the next day, I shot him back there. He was maybe 200 yards from where I parked the car. So that's where I found him. So it's about a half mile back. So I used to enter right here in these pines. And this used to be a really nice pine woods. It was really quiet in there. You could hear a pin drop. It was so quiet. But about 10 years ago or so, they cut it all down. They left these ones on the edges, and they left a few in the middle here and there. But the rest of it all got cut down. So it's really thick in there now. What grew up is all this stuff that you see behind me with the thorn bushes on it, or the big thorns on it. And it's almost impossible to walk through there now. So if you go in there, if you do go in there, and I have gone in there, there's trails everywhere, deer trails, going every which way. There's no pattern to any of it. So I go all the way up. I go all the way up to the end here, and I go around the woods and come back in from the other side. So where I sit there's a ridge back in there, and I sit at the lower end of that ridge. And so let's go. We're gonna keep going a little bit yet. You can see here all along that stuff grew up once they cut those big pines down. There was no canopy, and that's what grew. Whatever it is, I don't know the name of it, but it's nasty stuff to try and walk through there now. I'm kind of surprised there's still some snow out here. We've had a lot of mild weather here in April and or March, I should say, and a lot of rain too, so I'm really surprised that this is still snow out here. So I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but this is a shot of what this looks like. You can see a pine tree every so many feet, still that they left behind, but all this underbrush grew up, and it's I don't know. It may have been an improvement for the deer. The deer like it, but for the hunters, it was not an improvement to the area. It's made it really a little bit harder to hunt, I would say, because now I can only hunt around the fringes. I used to sit right in the middle of this pine woods here, and that's where I shot that 10-pointer. But you can't cut the trees down or the brush, so you're kind of limited to where you can sit. If you try going in there, you got no shot. So there's really no place to sit in there. All right, so we're off the main trail now. We're on a secondary trail. I know this looks like it's wide open, but when you come out here in September and it's all grown in from a full summer of growth, there's barely a trail here. And this is all that thorn bush stuff with the prickers on it. So there is a trail here, and it makes it a little easier to walk on, but yeah, it's not the easiest. All right, we're getting off the halfway decent trail, and now we're essentially walking on a game trail. This trail that I'm on now is pretty much a deer trail, but it's really the only way I can get through to where I sit, because it's so thick in there. I have to follow something, or I'm walking through all this brush. So I have to walk on a game trail. It is what it is. Looks like the kids were out here having a party. It's too bad they can't clean up after themselves. Beer cans laying out here, and looks like a tent. A little bit of a fire pit, not the best place to make a fire. But kids will be kids. So I flipped the camera around here so you can kind of see what I'm walking through to get to where I'm going. As I said before, you're not going to leave this trail. There is no other way to go. It's almost like they have a tunnel through here,
I got time. It's clear to see from up here. The world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
I mark my spots with these bright eyes. They work really good to get in and out in the dark. I'll put one every, I don't know, 50 feet, 100 feet or so. And then with your flashlight, you can shine and you'll be able to see where your next point is that you want to be on to get through these trails like this here.
Take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me
Now again, this area here,
meant to
I mean, it looks wide open right now, but this is all raspberry, wild raspberry. So when you come out here in fall, this stuff's all growing up. It's chest high, and it's not the easiest thing to walk through, but we do it. All for the fun of the hunt, right?
great outdoors, forever like a bird on a tree.
Like I said, it is a game trail, so you're gonna see a lot of that in here.
Sitting here, I got time. It's clear to see from up here. The world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We're meant to be.
So now once I get to the end of this here, you can see it opens up into the ridge. And then off to my left here is all the thick area. All that. And that it's really open when you come out here, say October, when the leaves have fallen off. You can see pretty far on that ridge. That goes all the way back to where my car was parked. And you can see a long ways. You can see deer coming down that ridge from a long ways off. So this is where I set up my ground blind. In fall, under that big spruce tree over there, there's usually a bunch of scrapes. It's kind of like a place where they hang out, and they come down the ridge, and they come out of the thick stuff, and they kind of hit this area. And then on the other side of this big ridge over here, there's farmers' fields out there, and I think that's eventually where they're going in the dark once they get over there. But this area right here seems to be an area where they congregate before dark, a little bit before dark. And it's not every night. I mean, like I say, you can sit out here 10 times and maybe see one night all of a sudden you'll have 10 deer standing around you, you know. But you know, they use this area, and that's why I sit here. So back about 20 years ago, when my son used to hunt with me yet, we used to come out here and we used to build these stick blinds. Now this blind right here is the one I shot the 8-pointer out of, and we had a couple of them. We had one way down on a corner down there, and had one behind me here a ways, and then And this is the one I would sit in the middle, and then I'd put him in one of the other two. But this is the only one that's left that nobody messed with. The other ones all got smashed. But it's amazing. I mean, obviously that was much thicker at one time. You know, you could hardly see me sitting in it. But it's amazing how that held up for 20 some years like that, you know. So we're still here at the bottom of this ridge. I mean, the ridge is up there, and all that thick stuff is down here in front of us. So the 10-pointer, when I shot that 10-pointer, I was down probably, I would say past where that snow ends, way down there, even probably a little further down that way. There was a tree that had fallen over against another tree, and I kept seeing these deer passing through down there right at dark. So I came out on a Friday and I put up a tree stand, and Saturday afternoon I shot that 10-pointer out of that tree stand. So it was a good move. I mean, that's the nice thing about nowadays with the portable blinds, which is what I'm using, that little hub blind that I did the review on last year. And you know, I can sit out here, I can just plop it anywhere, and then I can sit here, and if I see a pattern, if I see the deer every night they're going a certain way, cutting through here, I can move that blind the next time I come out, and I can, you know, I can maybe intercept them, if you want to use that word. But it's hunting's come a long way since 20 some years ago even. Now you got the crossbows, you can take a further shot. So you know, that's how we do it here in Wisconsin. So now, as I get down here to the southern end of this pine woods that I'm walking along, the ridge starts getting smaller. It takes kind of a dip, and then on the other side of the dip it goes back up again, and it gets really tall again out by the parking lot out where I showed you earlier. But this is all acorns in here, laying here under these leaves. You can see where they've been scratching, and you know, a lot of that's squirrels. You know, they're digging for the acorns too. They got to eat, but the deer come in here and they scratch and dig up the acorns also. You know, so now if you burn wood like I do, you'd be amazed at how much firewood gets wasted out here in these state forests. I mean, every year I come out here, there's another big tree that fell down, and it just goes to waste. It just rots out here, and it's a shame, you know. I burned wood most of my life to heat my houses and stuff, and you see all this wood going to waste, and it's tough to look at sometimes. But I get it, you know. I get it. You can't just let people out here with chainsaws. You know, it would be a zoo. So I get it. So now where this ridge takes a dip here, there's a pond down in there, and my other blind used to be right there by that stake, that fence, the old fence post there. And this was a good spot here, sitting on this corner. You had deer coming from the other side of the ridge, and you had deer coming from the other side of the pond and coming out of this thick stuff. It was actually a really good spot to sit. I never shot a deer here on this end, but I put some of my buddies here that missed deer for some reason. But it was a good spot. I don't sit here anymore. There's other hunters that come in here and they didn't like my blind there. They tore it down. So I stayed down on my end, on the north end of the woods down there. So there's also a game trail here on the south end of this pine woods. The pine woods is right up here. And I'm kind of on a little dip going down into the pond there. So there's a game trail that runs along the side of this hill. And this is it can be either an entrance or an exit to get into the woods here. But I don't use this much anymore. I go all the way down and around to get in. So now I don't know if you can see the trail, but it's over there beyond the ice on the pond here. And so when we're sitting there at the bottom of that ridge, we're really only, I don't know, 200, 300 yards off that trail. We're not that far off that trail. And I can hear the horses when I'm sitting out here in the fall. I can hear the horses going by, you know. So, you know, it's the deer cross that trail, they walk on that trail. The trail's not an issue, you know. So we're basically back where we started here when I first showed you the pine woods. We're on the south end of it now again. And so now I'm going to take you into a spot. I'm going to try and show you what this pine woods used to look like. How nice and quiet it is and how open it was, and it was a nice spot to hunt. So let's go, let's follow me. So this is how that other pine woods would have looked. No undergrowth. You could walk through it like it was nothing. But these are a little different. These are a little different pine. I think these are more of a spruce. But the white pines, you usually have the bed of needles underneath them, and you can just walk, you know, no problems through here. See how open that is when you have a canopy? But you also don't have any food for the deer if you have a canopy like this. So what they created in that other woods, they created a good habitat for the deer, but not so much for the hunters. There's a few more ponds down in here. There's so many different kinds of terrain out here, you know, from pines to open areas, ponds. I mean, if you can't find a place to hunt out here, there's something wrong with you, or you don't know what you're doing. Well, that's pretty much it for our tour today. I hope now you know a little bit more about me. So subscribe to my videos. There's always something different happening at Amberg Acres. I know I don't put out a lot of videos like some of the other guys put out a video every week, but you know, I still work a full-time job for the most part. So I hope you see from this video that there's plenty of public land out there to hunt on. The only issue with hunting on public land is you gotta deal with the other people. You know, almost every time I sit out there, if it's a nice day in October, you're gonna have somebody come walking through the woods. It's just, it is what it is. You gotta deal with it, you know. But that doesn't mean the deer aren't there. The deer are still there. There's plenty of sign out there. There's, you know, I see deer all the time out there. So, you know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you know a little bit more about me now. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, and see you next time.